Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another stream. Welcome to another video and a brand new series that we are starting today, working on this guy right there. That is the Academy 144th scale B1-B bomber, also known as B1-B Lancer. So I will run, and we'll run my intro and we'll just get started, shall we? So, as I said, we're starting a new project today, getting our B1-B bomber. I've already opened the box and I've taken all the sprues out of the bags, so I'll change the camera and we'll go over what's in this kit and what's going to be involved in it, okay? So let's change that camera. So starting with this one, we've got our main fuselage here. As you can see, this is going to be roughly about how long it's going to be. This, of course, is 144 scale, so that is tiny in comparison to other model kits. I will show you a comparison later on. Anyway, we've got our upper fuselage, our bottom. Looks like our cockpit, which the seats are already in it, and we've got looks like the nose cone here, and a couple of side pieces. I think looks like they're gonna be going in right in there, and that's that. That's sprue A. Next, out of the box, we've got sprue C. Looks like we've got our maybe landing gear bay doors. It looks like maybe this piece is here, so maybe we have options to have the landing gear closed or open. I haven't looked through the instructions deeply enough to determine whether that is an option or not. These are definitely going to be closed versions. So yeah, it looks like maybe we have options to have them open or close. Anyway, so that would mean these big ones are our bomb bay doors. Okay, so that's that. And then we have D. Oh, we got two Ds. We got double D. Look at that. Double D tree. Yeah, it's always nice to play with double Ds. Looks like our rear stabilizers. And we looks like we've got a bomb rack there. And more bombs. And then looks like our intake, our engines basically. Looks like our engines totally. Two of them. Yeah, so there's our double Ds. And then we've got this big one. This is actually sprue B. So we're not in alphabetical order coming out of the box. Our wings here, looks like they are one-piece wings, which is kind of neat when they're actually hollow in there. One-piece wings. We've got the upper half of our intake / engines, and then the rears. I don't see any engine cone. We've got our tail fin here, which is one piece. That is neat. One piece total. Don't have to worry about seam lines with this one on the back, so that's kind of neat. You can see right through it there. Looks like our swing mechanism for our wings. These wings do sweep back just like on an F-14. Not sure what these are. Maybe inside of the engine kind of things. This looks like the tail piece that goes on here, and a couple of knickknacks. Yeah, a couple more here. Academy is nice enough to mold this in multi-colors. I think that's what this comes up here. MCP, multicolored parts. So they make it rather simple. Especially if you're a beginner and you're not too skilled at painting. They make it so it's a little bit easier for you. This is all our landing gear parts that are supposed to be molded in white, or at least painted white. And so there we go. We've got that. That's off our F tree. And we've got two E's. Oh, we even got double E's. There's our wheels and our engine nozzles. So right off the bat, I know I've got to spray. I've got to prime these. The inside of our actual wheels are supposed to be white. Typical, especially American aircraft, everything's all white for the landing gear, but that's going to be a pain. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to primer these in gray. so that it'll show up white a lot easier. So for the gray, I'm just going to use this stuff here, Mr. Finishing Surfacer, 1500. Shake that up for a couple of alligator clips. That's the first thing I'm going to do with this kit, is primer these two sprues in gray. And you might wonder, why gray? Why not primer it in black? Well, because I'm going to be painting it white after. As far as the engine nozzles, it doesn't matter whether I prime them in gray or black, because it's going to be painted like a gunmetal color anyway. So that's that now. Okay, didn't do too much on this side because it's not that necessary, but there we go. So that's that one. Okay, so let's do the same thing with this one. That on there. There we go. Okay, two sprues primered. So, with all that done, let's put these back in the box. I'm pretty sure I have watched a couple of videos online on the building of this little bird, and I'm pretty sure cockpit is first. So let's look at our instructions. We actually got two instruction booklets come in the box, one for the actual assembly and one for all the colors and where all the decals go. And it's pretty straightforward, except for this part. They do show, they call it Manual 2, and they show the assembly of our engines and how they get located. So yeah, they do have the landing gear open. And then, oh yes, it comes with masks. We got decals here. We got some decals that go in this, including our display on our inside our cockpit. And then also in this bag is a little stencil for our cockpit window. I've seen guys tint this kind of a yellowish yellow tint. I think I'm willing to try doing that myself too and see how that goes. So here's our instructions. Caution, that's chue. Yeah, that's right, that's Korean. Chue means caution. Yes, so step one is doing our cockpit, painting it gold gray and black, and painting the seats in olive drab. It's kind of interesting that the sides of the seats are supposed to be black, but the front of them is olive drab, and put a couple of pieces in there. So let's get our fuselage off, and we will start on this guy. So we want our bottom half of the fuselage, that's this guy here. I wonder if that music's loud enough to catch YouTube's monetizing algorithm. You know, it seems like every time I try and put some music in the background that actually is entertaining to hear, YouTube wants to strike it for monetization, which kind of sucks. So there's our bottom half of the fuselage. The other piece we're going to need is our actual cockpit, which is A10, which is pretty obvious on this which piece it is, because it's yeah, your cockpit's already assembled. It's a very, I'd say, nondescript cockpit. There's really nothing to it. If that's all there is, yeah, literally. I think they want it gold gray, okay, gold gray, and I think because I'm going to be painting this in dark gray XF24, I know they call out for gunship gray on this, and I don't have gunship gray in the little bottle. I don't even have gunship gray in the Tamiya spray. Actually, I'm lying. I might actually have the gunship gray. I have gunship gray 2 I don't know if I have actually the original gunship gray. That I'll have to look at later on. But I was planning on doing dark gray, which is a very, very good facsimile. But they want gull gray also. And, well, gull gray is very similar to the neutral gray, the XF53 by Tamiya. That's a gull gray, basically. Yeah, which is basically pretty much what this is molded in. It's very close. It's a little bit darker, but I think if I just leave that, I don't even need to paint the gull gray. I can just leave that in that same color, but I just have to paint the sides of the seats black, and then the top of them olive, basically. But this guy here, he's supposed to go in on these two little posts right there like that, and just sit like that. Another thing I've seen online is that this little bird, when he's put together, if you do not add weight to the nose, he's going to sit on his butt. If you display this thing with the landing gear down, it's going to sit with the front end raised in the air, which is a little unfortunate. So that means you have to add some weight to the front of the nose. Usually you can use a couple of bolts or nuts or something like that. Some guys use actual lead weights. Thinking about what I could use for it. I'm not worried about it exactly right now because I'm not actually going to put the fuselage together. I'm not going to get this part done tonight. So I'm not really that concerned about it. For now, what I am concerned about is just getting it cleaned up and kind of ready. There aren't a heck of a lot of parts to this little bird. So what does that mean? It means a lot of it is going to be painting the various things, right? I need to prime this, and I need to paint the insides of our landing gear bays and our bomb bays white. There's our front landing gear, that needs to be white in there. So that's basically the beginning of this build, is getting it ready, right? You guys know I don't like to really assemble very much before painting. I kind of like having it pre-painted and ready to go as much as I can before I do things like sandwich this whole thing together, right? So I'm not sure. We have a couple of pieces that need to go in here. I can put A5 and A6 on back here, so let's find those. Also, that's the B tree. I want my A tree. A5 and 6, that's these two here. So we can put these in. This is A5 right here. Don't clip off the little tab, clip it right there. You want to leave your little tabs. So that's A5. And this is A6. Okay, A6. So these guys, if we get A5, put them in the direction they're supposed to, with their little nubs facing down. This guy here goes right there. The builds that I've seen online do point out in a lot of places, the parts on this guy, they go together so firmly that you almost don't need glue. And that kind of is. If I try and pull this apart now, look at that. I didn't use any glue, and yet that is really solidly on there. But it's also at the same time not really wanting to go all the way in. So that's where glue is good, because glue will act as a little bit of a lubricant to get those pegs to go into these holes the way it's supposed to. Okay, so making sure I got this lined up in the way that they're showing me in the diagram. This way. There we go. Okay, just like that. So do this one too. Same way. Just like that, line them up there. Press down all the way. There we go. And we're going to make sure they're straight up and down, and there we go. Okay, so those are in. Okay. Now, ease of painting, maybe I think I'll put glue our cockpit in there, or glue our seats down, and then that'll be easier to paint when I actually get to it. So 2 little dabs on there, line those up, bing. Make sure our seats are level. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we've got to put these 2 pieces in our wings, or we put them on here and put the wings in after. So I think that's going to be an option. So let's try it. Let's see. Let's try B8 and B1. So off of our B tree, we got B1. This guy here. Okay, and B8. That's this one. All right. So let's just see. Get this off of here. This is the kind of thing where I like my razor file for, to get this edge nice and smooth. This razor file really comes in handy to keep it nice and straight edge, while at the same time it gets rid of that nub while keeping a nice straight edge on there. And it'll work on the edge, this edge too. Just go over it like this, and we'll get rid of that, any signs of that nub. Oh, flexible wing. Okay, this part here, that little nub, doesn't really matter so much because it's on a flat edge, so we can do this. Alright, so I already know, just by looking at the instructions, this piece goes inside the wing and sits, I guess, flush in there, like this. And you're supposed to glue that. But it's possible. And then, of course, when this goes on, these teeth are going to go against this thing, and it'll lock it into different positions. Okay? So you're going to basically go like this. We've got I'm encountering a very tight fit. There we go. Okay, just like that, and then it just does this, right? Okay, but I'm thinking, just leave it like this, and then I can put the wing on at another time. Is my thinking. So I can get this together without having this big kit with these wings sticking out everywhere. That is my thinking. Okay, so let's grab the other one. So that's this guy. And the other thing I should do, let's get this off of here. See, these are tight fits. Very, very snug. I don't think it really matters if, I guess you can get these mixed up. They are, it's not really different. The only difference is there's ejector pin marks on this side of this one, and there's not on this one. Other than that, they look identical. So I want to get this one lined up in there. Okay. It is a tight fit. I don't know why they God, it's such a tight fit. Let's see if this one is just as tight. Feels like I didn't clean this one up. One thing I have noticed with Academy kits, Academy kits, they kind of, for me, my experience with Academy kits is kind of hit and miss. I've had some kits, I've had a couple of kits really good. I've had a couple of kits where not very good at all. Okay, so that's this one. Again, it's very tight, but it's all right. I think what I'm going to do, actually, because of how tight it is, it's just, I don't like how tight it is. Like that, I shouldn't have this much trouble pulling it off of there. That should be a lot more willing to come apart. And so I am going to do something I don't normally do. And I'm going to use a little bit of my needle juice on this. And I'm going to put it on the shaft here. Kind of work that around a little bit. That's a little bit nicer now. It's not quite so rigid and stiff. It's just a little bit of, lubricant, basically. And yet it's not grease. It's for lubricating the needle on your airbrush. That's why they call it needle juice. It's grease, but it's not thick. It's a little bit thin, and yeah, just to give that a little something, just a little bit of lubricant on there. Let me move that back and forth a bit. Yeah, see? Now it comes off. Now that's a lot more friendly. How about this one? Yeah. Yeah, now I can do that. Okay, I'm happier with that. One thing I do want to do is I don't want to have needle juice fingerprints everywhere, because that is a very big possibility. Okay. So that's done. So that would be the wings. Is there anything else? There's nothing else to go inside here. They do show a reference at the bottom here, which you can basically just barely see. A2 goes over top, but A2 they want us to put in the decal for the instrumentation first. And of course, I need to paint my cockpit seats. So I'm going to need flat black for the sides of the seats. So let's grab that. Let's grab a brush here. Flat black just on the sides. This. There isn't even any flight control sticks on this plane. how do the pilots even control this plane without any flight control sticks? You ever think of that? I'd say probably not. I would imagine this canopy, this center section, is probably black also. That's something I have not done, is I have not researched what the actual cockpit on a B-1 bomber looks like. But clearly there's not much to it. Okay, so I've got the sides of the seats black now, and I also painted their center console there in between the seats. Now I need to grab some olive drab, which I don't have any of my olive drab out. I need to clean off the black off my brush. Okay, there's that. I don't have olive drab out, but I do have, I'm pretty sure I've got a very reasonable facsimile here in my Vallejo colors, which of course you guys know I don't usually use my Vallejos very much, but this will work. For the olive drab color. Front there. There we go. Okay. The seats are now a happy olive drab color, just like that. If we can get that up there and actually focus. Yeah, there you go. Okay. It is a little unfortunate. Oh, there is a decal that's supposed to go down on the center console there. So that is a little detail to not forget. There's a decal that needs to go in between the two seats on the center console as well as there. Okay, so let's put our decals on, shall we? I'm gonna go get some water.
Later.
So, we need a couple of decals here. Which means I have to open this bag. Get out our decals here. And we might as well take out our little stencil. That is thin masking tape. Okay, so we need decal number 2. This little square here. And we also need decal number 1. Okay, but we'll do decal 2 first. So let's cut these out. Okay, decal number 2. And we'll put this in the water. Leave that for a sec while we get the upper fuselage out. Okay, that's also off of our A tree. And we'll get the upper fuselage off of the sprue. Okay. So while we're waiting for that, let's clean up our nubs on the sprue. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not really planning on putting these two halves together today. I might not. I think it would be prudent to, you know, get this together. Now, this should be painted black, flat black, before I put the decal on. Speaking of decals, how are we doing in here? Not ready to go yet. I always wait until the decal's ready to slide on the cardboard. So this needs to be flat black, or at least, you know, NATO black or something like that. I don't have NATO black out, so I'm going to use flat. So again, I've got to use flat black on this. I am going to paint it on fairly thick. Normally I would do airbrush for this because I don't want any brush lines coming through on this. But I don't have it, I'm not prepared to airbrush it, so I'll just do this. I'm not sure if it's supposed to go on that border or not, but we're doing that, and I'll also get the edge here. And inside here, I don't know how much the decal is going to cover in here. And I don't know how much you'll actually see inside here, so let's just do black in there. Probably not going to see it. This is a very tiny cockpit. This is similar size cockpit to like the SR-71 Blackbird. There's really not a lot to it. It's very small. Okay, so I'll let that dry. Okay, I will clean my brush, and by the time my brush is clean, I should be able to get that decal installed in between the seats. Let's see here. Yep, she's ready. Says, put me in, Captain, I'm ready to go. So, we're going to put it in this way. Okay. Right there. Just like that. Take a Q-tip. Get that placed in spot. There we go. And I will, because it's my habit to always use the Mark Fit Super Strong. I like the Super Strong. Does a great job on the decals, convincing them to sit down. It does shrink them just a little bit, is actually what it does. And when the shrinking process is the decal's laying there with the Mark Fit over top, it shrinks. And when it does that, it sticks to the plastic. It's really good. So there's that. Okay, that's going to be it for this. So then this guy goes over top. To get him lined up. This line up pretty good. But I can understand why they want you to put the decal for the instrumentation in there first before you put this down. But this is just a test fit for now. That's all I'm doing, is just test fitting. And we can see our things for our wings. Let's grab that wing and see, is this actually going to be an option to actually put the wing on later? So it looks like, slide that wing Yeah, that is going to be an option. Yeah, so I don't have to put the wings on until later on. I can wait. That's a nice thing to know. Okay, so let's get these apart now. There's little pins and stuff that this connects these to get together, and they're tight, which is why this is wanting to stay together now all on its own. There we go. There's a couple little pegs. Okay, so this is almost dry. Not quite with the paint. I put it on fairly thick. So even though the Tamiya paint does dry pretty quickly, there's still in the cracks there, it's still a little bit damp. So while I'm still waiting for that to dry, I'm going to primer the bottom of this one with some of that Mr. Surfacer Gray. So in preparation for painting our base white. Okay, so I'm going to prime this bottom part while I'm waiting for that to dry. So let's grab our table. Move this and put our wing back here. And I'll grab my Mr. Surfacer, again, the 1500. I'm going to focus basically on our base. I don't care so much about the fuselage. And I just realized if I try to spray in this side, I'm going to hit my seats. So I am going to get some masking tape. And let's do this. Get in there. And let's protect the paint job on our seats. There we go. That should prevent the primer from getting on there. So like I said, basically I'm focused more on getting the primer on the inside of our bays in preparation for painting them white, right? So yeah, we'll just leave it like that. And now we're gonna let this side dry. In the meantime, our paint on our instrument panel is dry enough that we can put in our instrumentation decal. Let's get rid of that little number 2. That in there. Okay, I'm going to put this over on the side here out of the way. So actually, I think I'm going to need another coat. Yeah, and be careful where you touch. See, I got paint on my finger now because I just touched right there. When that dries, I'm going to have to sand that down and clean it up. So yeah, Mr. Surfacer does not dry as fast as Tamiya. Although it does dry pretty quick, it's not quite as fast as Tamiya. Okay. So that done. I've got a really funny looking nub. I don't know if that's a nub or not. Looking at this, it's not a nub, it's actually a fin, but it is, on mine, it is bent over. So I guess it got bent in shipping. I need to grab a better pair of pliers and straighten that fin out. This actually got bent on mine. I thought it was a nub. I thought it was a nub from, you know, however they had it molded. But it's not. That's on purpose. That's supposed to be there. So don't cut that off. don't cut that one off, okay? That's supposed to be there. On my kit, that happened to be, it was bent over like this, and yeah, so we don't want that. Let's check out our decal here. Doesn't want to move yet, so we'll give it another minute. In case you guys are wondering, I'll bring this into view here. There's our decal. So what I like to do is I'll just see if it'll slide on here. If it doesn't slide, that tells me it's not ready. Right? We get that put on, and then we'll be ready to put the two halves together. What I will have to do is get ready for masking. See, I've got some little bit of flashing on the inside. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. Right in there on that edge, I've got some flashing in there I need to clean up before I do even consider putting the two halves of this together. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. There's a few places like around these tips that we get a little bit of flashing, and that's a thing that, you know, I build enough Tamiya kits, you kind of learn to take this stuff for granted, and then when you encounter it, you're surprised when you do a different brand of kit and you get flashing on some parts. It's like, what is this? Okay, how's our decal? Decal moves, which means it's ready to go. Okay, so we'll take this guy, and going in from this side, lay him down in his spot. Seems to fit pretty good. Don't need 2 Q-tips. Okay, and then our mark fit. Just make sure I actually have it straight. Sorry if you can't see this. I need to see in there to make sure it's straight. There we go. And there we go. So our decal's in there now. It's going to be hard for you to see unless I have it at this angle, right? It's in there. Okay. But from the outside view, you're looking in at that cockpit. That's a real sharp angle to try and see that at. Right? That's, yeah. Basically, yeah. Only you and I know it's in there, guys. Only we know it's there. No one else is going to see that. Okay, so our primer is dry. I gotta sand this part where I touched it with my finger and made a fingerprint. That's a blemish I don't want showing through on paint later. There we go. Okay, so we can get the mask off of our seats. One detail I did see somebody do is they added seat belts to the seats, which is a nice little touch, especially on something so small. Because our cockpit is like super tiny on this guy, like really. That's our cockpit. Oops. That's our cockpit there. There's really nothing, right? And then you add in the glass, which has a lot of it covered, which comes out over the top, is covered with only a couple tiny windows. There's really not a lot visible on this thing at all. But it would be cool to have seat belts in there. So what's a way we can actually put seat belts? Let's get these apart again. One trick I've seen done, and I think I've even tried it, is since it's so small, we don't need to worry about too much detail. But we can take masking tape. Get a piece of masking tape. Okay, we'll do this. I'm going to show you guys a little trick. Let's cut a couple of little strips, very, very tiny, very small. How thick would the seatbelts be in 144 scale, after all? Very thin, right? Okay, so there's this. Let's pull that out. There's one belt. Can you even see it on the camera? There's another belt, but this is a little too wide, I think. So, we want consistency in our thickness, right? This is where something like actually using a ruler and that kind of thing is going to help out. Now, how long do we want them? If I just use my knife and go by that, we want about that long. Maybe this long. So we go to 2. Okay. And let's make a V out of them. Yeah, this one's too short. Let's do this. That's the nice thing about doing it with masking tape, is trial and error. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's grab this. And there's our little makeshift seatbelt. We can put that on here. And there we go. Here's a seat belt. Let's do the same on the other side. They're roughly this long. There we go. Second seat belt in. This is just a really super easy, simple way to add some detail to it without really going crazy on it. If you want them to look like folded or something like that, that's all right too. Go right ahead. You can actually just cut them so that they're curved. Do whatever way you want. And it is masking tape, so it's pretty forgiving. It bends pretty easy. There we go. I've got my 2 lap belts on the one seat done. Let's just cut these out. Get 2 more. The other nice thing is how you lay them down on the actual cushion is all up to you. You know, sometimes you're working with these and you are limited to the molds sometimes. I like to do it in a little bit of a realistic fashion in that, well, maybe the pilot getting out didn't lay his belts down exactly the same as the guy beside him. And so the 2 lap belts are laid down a little bit different. Okay, so there's that. Okay, there's our belts. Now, how do we do the buckles? Well, simple. Our buckles, I'm going to use Molotow liquid chrome. And I'm just going to put a couple of little dots of chrome on there with a little brush. Let's find a little brush here. Here we go. Just a little drop just at the tips of our belt to mimic the buckles. Just right at the tips of our belts. And then, you know how the shoulder belts always have those buckles halfway up for the straps. So add a couple of little dots for those also. There we go. Okay. Last thing we can do, gotta clean my brush. Last thing we can do, because the belts, you know, the yellow masking tape looks pretty bright, right? Looks a little bright and not realistic, so I'll use some Panaline accent color. I'll use a gray. There's going to be a lot on the brush here, so I'm just going to clean it up, dry it a little bit. And just put a little bit on the belts. Just to dullin them up a little bit so they're not such a bright yellow. And there we go. So there's my cockpit with our seat belts in there, just like that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's that. Now we have this all primed. That's all good to go. And we have our upper fuselage with our decal, with our instrumentation in there. That's ready to go. We can put our two halves together. So as you can tell, there's a couple of big pieces here that go into these spots. So I'm going to put some glue onto these. Like I said, I wasn't really planning on getting two halves of the fuselage done today, but I guess it did. So I'll put these two halves together, and then we'll call it a day. We got a few other little spots here. The pins go through, and these are pins instead of holes on this side. So we got ourselves lined up here. Of course, the glue, again, acting like a lubricant, helps everything slide together. And she holds together pretty good. I'm going to have to go around the edge with my extra thin to get it all buttoned up. But as far as all of our pegs in the holes and stuff like that, they're all holding nicely. Okay, so that is that. All right, guys. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. Like I said, I'm going to go around the seam here with my extra thin and hold that and get that all buttoned up nicely. But other than that, she's together, and we've got our little stubs in for our wings. And of course, like I showed you before, where did I put my wing? My wing's in there already. I put it in the, no, it's right here. This, of course, just slides in on that, and that's done. That wing is on. Of course, gluing it will be the final step, but yeah, that's it. But that way I don't have to have this big wide model sitting on my desk. I can work with it in very narrow, and I got lots of room to do that. So that's one thing that's really nice. Yeah, so we're going to leave it at that. I don't think this kit is going to take me very much time. You know, usually my builds take, you know, 10, 11 hours to do, but this is very quick, especially with how undetailed the cockpit is. Yeah, anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming out, and thank you for all the support. I ask that you guys hit that subscribe button down below. 70% or more of you guys that watch my videos haven't subscribed, so please do me that favor, help me out, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends to watch me too, and get them to subscribe also. Anyway, I got another project coming up. When I do hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a collaboration with my fiance, and we're going to build a Porsche together. She has never built a model before in her life, and so once I hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to build one together. I'm going to show her and you guys that you don't have to be a professional modeler to make a decent looking kit that looks good on your shelf. Of course, I'm going to help her out with some of the painting and stuff like that, and things that she can't do herself, so especially at her place. Anyway, thanks again guys for watching, thanks for coming out, and we'll see you all in the next one.